If you stayed for my talk, thank you. That is very humbling. If you thought that the doors were locked and you couldn't actually leave, yeah, that's it. They're locked. You can't leave. So hi. Yes, titles have been a running joke today. I think titles in this space are still being worked out. I've been called many, many things. I've been called that numbers lady, the pivot table chick, the one with the Excel, our numbers guru, head accountability officer, oh God, that woman. And yes, right now I'm a data artist at 22/7, where we take people's personal financial data and we visualize it for them so that they can make better decisions with their money and feel good about it. So I think that's probably my favorite job description so far. But I think with titles, like I said, in this industry, at the moment they're a bit like porn star names. Just choose one. Just choose one and get on with the job you were going to do. So, is visualization important? Yes. Yes, visualization is important. It's not about that old trope where, you know, some people are just picture people and some people are just number people. That's really not the case. We're all picture people. To one extent or another, we are picture people because people will remember a picture long after they've forgotten your p-value, your sample size, your adjusted R-squared. Those aren't the things that are sticky, pictures are. And if you're in a noisy bar and you need to get an idea across to somebody, you say, bring me a napkin, I'll draw it for you. You want to draw it. So it's a very powerful means of communication and memorable. But maybe, in this audience, maybe you are just a table person. Maybe you really don't need pictures. And that's rad. I'm sure you're very clever. I'm sure you terrify the people around you. I'm sure you earn a lot of money, and you will go far. But you'll go far, and someday, whether it's for grant money, or for client sign-off, or for your own salary, you're going to have to persuade someone that what you've done is logical, valuable, and really, really interesting. And the smart money says you're going to do that with a picture. Usually then I'm also asked, so you're saying you just want to decorate stuff. We must have pictures, we must have animations, we must have color, it must be a riot. No. I'm genuinely not advocating decoration at the expense of clarity. Because graphics, when done well, they reveal the data. And I'll give you a couple of examples that I found very inspiring in my career. In 1852, there was a horrible outbreak of cholera in the Soho district of London. Now, cholera was a known disease, but they couldn't figure out why Soho and why was everyone dying. And a doctor, Dr. John Snow, made a diagram. He got a street map of Soho and plotted the deaths on it. It's a very sketchy little diagram there, but I made it a bit clearer. Those are the deaths. But critically, the smart thing that he did was he also put the water pumps on the diagram. And that's when it became absolutely clear that the Broad Street water pump was at the epicenter of this epidemic. That was infected. So they shut off the pump, contained the epidemic, and saved a lot of lives on the basis of a very simple visualization, which at the time was completely groundbreaking. Nobody had thought to do this. This is another example. It's a really small table of numbers. That's just 87 observations of 61 variables. That's not going to intimidate anybody in this room. So it's a very comfortable little data set, but it means absolutely nothing until you plot it and find that that is a volcano in New Zealand, which opens up a whole lot of avenues for exploration and interest. But that doesn't exist until you make a picture out of it. My last example is also very old. During the Crimean War, Florence Nightingale, the Lady of the Lamp, was trying very, very hard to put forward her theory of preventable infection being a very important thing to focus on. And this is at a very difficult time for her to be doing this because nobody was listening to women back then, let alone female nurses in a combat situation. Lady, we have bigger things to pay attention to. And her argument was, no, you don't. And I'll show you here. I emphasize the data is overlaid. In the middle, month by month going around, you have a sort of a pink area. It's a very old diagram, so it's faded. That's actual deaths from wounds in battle. The black area surrounding that is deaths from all other causes, and you'll see that that peaks during winter months. So often that was the cold. But the blue area that covers and exceeds all of them is preventable infection. They were losing that many men every month to preventable infection, far outstripping anything that the actual weapons were doing. And once she put it into this infographic form, she became the lady of the numbers, and they listened. They listened and made changes, and she was able to design her hospital in a way to minimize these deaths. So it's incredibly powerful. But that was then, and that was pencil and paper, and this is now. And the main point I want to make is that we're living in a data visualization renaissance. And that's mostly for two major reasons. The first of which is that the tools have changed. Throughout the day, I've been looking at everybody around here, and I have this feeling that everybody here is old enough to remember when you could choose which shade of blue you wanted to work with. You were probably going to be a SAP person, if you were going to work with data at all. You were going to be a SAP person. You were going to study for several years to rise up in the ranks of SAP and be a consultant to an enormous corporation that was a SAP corporation, and then you would work with their data for 10 years, and then if you were being really frisky, you would switch to another enormous corporate that was also a SAP house and then carry on there. And it was very expensive and very lucrative, which is great. That or you were in academia. But the market has changed completely for data tools and visualization tools. It's fractured. So enterprise is still around, very much alive and kicking, but now you can purchase your software outright, you can subscribe to it, you can have freemium models, open source stuff where you can just take it and rewrite it in your own image if you choose. There's public things where all of the functionality is available for free, but you just have to pay for your stuff to be private. And finally, stuff that's just straight up free, which should be unheard of, but it's not. It's happening all the time now. And there's another shift. You see, in the old world, you'd kind of bolt on some visuals at the end of your analysis, very grudgingly, because your supervisor required a picture. Whereas in the new world, visualization is part of how you explored your data. It's a part of how you found your findings in the first place. There's visualization at every step. And so when you do finally go to your audience, you'll be sharing many visualizations with them. You'll be bringing them along on a story, rather than just presenting, well, this line chart is the last 4 years of my life. There's a lot. Somebody's done that. Sorry. These are some of the platforms that can do it, and everything on this slide is virtually free, because I don't think anybody pays for Excel anymore. I think that comes with your PC, come on. So what this means is, as someone who is a data scientist, as someone who has a career as a data scientist, it's gotten to be very interesting. You have this fragmented, wandering career where you move from small project to small project across different platforms, different kinds of challenges, different kinds of data sets. You're a wandering minstrel of data. And it's opened the door for freelancing, which is very attractive, and it also just means that there's more intellectual elasticity. And that has made it a very appealing field, certainly for myself, and I know for many others. It's starting to feel, honestly, a little bit like a hobby, but I'll get into that later. So one of the free platforms that I want to talk about is R. It's the most powerful stats package there is, and they gave it away. That's their website, not updated since 1993. That's RStudio. RStudio is kind of a plush version of R, if it could be made plush. RStudio, though, is also still free. It's actually a real problem for some enterprises, some companies that have risk rules that mean they can't use free software. They can't use R because it's completely free. It's very hard to pay for R. You can try. Anyway, so R is pretty amazing, and R produced that volcano visual. That's one of their little trial versions. Another one that I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in is D3, d3.js. It's a JavaScript library. Well, D3 has two main things going for it. One of them is that it's JavaScript. I can throw this into the room and I will hit someone with experience in JavaScript. It's a very commonly understood language. I have to not injure you, but someone will have experience with JavaScript. You'll probably find that your teenage nephew can write a fair bit of JavaScript. So it's not this rare language. You're not looking for a priesthood here. It's very commonly known. And the second big thing about D3 is that it runs in your browser. It runs in everyone's browser. So it's not like one of those fantastic stats packages that produces the most amazing things, and the only way you can share it is to find someone else who also paid for it. And they have to be running the same version. This just runs in your browser. Everybody has a browser. So you can share this with everyone. But I'm just going to show you some examples for why I care. So this is a D3.js visualization of the United States trade deficit. The green at the top is money flowing into the United States from countries that they're trading with, and the very much larger red at the bottom is the United States paying money to countries that they're buying things from. And the terrifying number in the middle is their deficit in the many, many trillions. It's a bit of a scary picture, but the reason it's moving is it's actually moving through month by month, month and year. So you can scroll through this diagram and watch as the United States trade relations shift over time. In the time segment that I grabbed there, Canada was their #1 spending partner, which is an interesting one. That was 2005. I think things have changed. But what's great about this is deficit information is not something that anybody who isn't an economist ever gives a damn about. I'm a bit of an economist, so I would always give a damn. But my sister is the opposite of an economist, and when I showed her this, she was interested. And admittedly, sure, she's interested because it's moving and there are colors. But, no, I love her. But we had our first ever meaningful discussion about trade and economics on the basis of this diagram because the colors and the movement got her in. They made her look closer, they made her read, and then we suddenly had a conversation about it, and we had the best conversation we've had about economics. It was remarkable. Here's another one. These are Uber rides in San Francisco. I don't know if anybody here took advantage of the offer. I did. And if you did, you were tracked. Uber tracks everything. And what you can see here is this is in San Francisco. In the morning, there's this massive commute from south of Market up to the financial district. So that's where the bankers live. The bankers live in south of Market, and in the morning, they all head off to the financial district. But in the afternoon, they do not leave the financial district to go back to south of Market. They scatter to a whole lot of really cool kind of entertainment destinations around San Francisco. So it's a very pretty chord diagram, and it's really fun to go and mouse over it and explore these different routes, but Uber uses this to be the best taxi service in the world. Because Uber can make an informed decision to tell a driver, you, drive back, get back there now. No, drive back empty. Don't wait for someone. The massive demand is in that area right now, and off they go. So the right cabs are in the right place at the right time, and it's pretty fantastic. And this is an enormous table of data that they had anyway, but I would argue that they wouldn't be engaging with it like this as intelligently if it weren't visualized in a way that's very empowering. My last example is about doing research on the property market. If you're going to buy a house, you're going to do a lot of research. It's kind of a big purchase. If I'm going to sell you a house, I want to know where you're doing that research so that I can put my marketing messages in front of you. Well, this will tell me that. Going from top to bottom, those are days of the week. From left to right, that's hour of the day. Warm colors are high browsing and research behavior. Those are the good places for me to put my ads. It also tells me which state of the United States displays this pattern, and it also shows whether you're on a mobile or desktop device. That's a lot of data, but it's visualized in a way that makes it kind of understandable. So maybe you're thinking, oh shit, am I obsolete? You might be. I can't promise you that you're not obsolete. But, no guarantees. But the barriers to learning have dropped lower than they've ever been before, because on your way through this fractured, strange, wandering career, you're going to encounter people, mentors, people who are on the same journey trying to solve similar challenges. You're going to meet them in online communities where they swap and share problems and solutions. Like I said, it's more like a hobby now than ever before. I can't stop myself from playing with data visualization tools on a weekend. A little nerdy. I have a really good life. And it brings into question whether you should be stopping working and spending a ton of money to go for formal qualifications, when actually, when I'm hiring, I'm looking for portfolio work. I'm looking for you building APIs that tunnel into the World Health Organization, drag out data, and show me an interactive map that helps me understand which municipal hospital districts may need a bit of extra funding. That's interesting. But your degree, that starts to become obsolete the moment the ink is dry. So we're living in a Renaissance. And the thing that nobody tells you about the Renaissance is that there was a lot of really crap art. I just came back from Italy. I can't believe how much crap art came out of the Renaissance. It's terrible. Because we all start to think that the Renaissance was just a few geniuses producing their best work all at once, and that wasn't the case. It was everyone. It was people who really sucked. It was people who didn't suck. It was people who learned not to suck so much by doing a whole lot of it, getting better and better as a community and inspiring each other and challenging each other. That's what a Renaissance is. So next time you're really frustrated about trendy infographics that are just a pile of designer icons, for every literally shit infographic, bear in mind that there will be a diagram that helps us understand the very complicated relationships between cancer genes. Very complicated diagrams that help us understand cancer genes, and diagrams that let us interactively explore the flow of funding and political influence between political parties in Parliament, which is perhaps something that we should be looking at here, given that the tools are here, the skills are available, and all we need is our creativity. We live in exciting times. Thank you.